without further ado, the Biden video. Okay. Now watch his hands at the bottom of the screen here. Mics. Fluffy mic. And did you see it go behind his hands? It's pretty crazy. Now, I want to point out a few things. I'm going to back this up, all right, just a little bit. Now, I'm assuming you guys, can you hear the noise on that video? I'm assuming you can because my media source is showing it. Now, notice, if you would, to the right of his hands, this stuff is it almost looks like a fuzz around that microphone. That's because that's CGI, okay? It is, it's a horrible job, and it looked like it's patchwork, okay? And now, the other thing, too, is notice what he is wearing. His attire, he's wearing a thin summer suit, okay? And so it's because it's, you know, I'll just point that out. He's wearing a thin summer suit, and I want you to realize that he is basically, we're going to talk to security detail in a second, but now look at the suits and the coats, and the guys are wearing head socks out there, and just look at what everybody else is wearing versus what he's wearing, okay? All right, so here we go. We're going to continue on to play that. See his hands in front of the mic? It's incredible. Now he's stepping in. Now that mic's got that fuzz around it, and you just notice it's got kind of like this Vaseline look around the outer edges of the mic, and that's because they're using a screen, and you can't get rid of that in some cases because of the colors and the color palette without doing some serious work. Now look at the hats, jackets. And there's no Marine standing at the door, Marine 1. Normally there are Marines standing right there. And so there is no Marine standing at that. So that aircraft is parked. And so now look at the security detail, right? I'm going to back this up just a little bit. Notice the jackets these guys are wearing. But I also want to point out how sloppy these guys look for a Secret Service. Secret Service are one of the most squared away guys. I mean, they are high and tight, and so now look at these guys. They look scruffy. They don't look like true U.S. Secret Service guys. Okay, they stand out out of a crowd. Okay, because they are. You knew the training those guys go through, and the background that they have, and the pedigree that they have. They are like the cream of the crop. You don't get a bunch of sloppy dudes in there unless they're just old retired guys. But if they are, they're not working the presidential detail. You know, they're doing all the other legwork around it. But the guys that are guarding the president are usually top notch, okay? Now, watch these security guys as we bring this in. See how that guy just looked kind of sloppy? All right, now they're going to back out again in a second. I got it on loop. All right, now, here's the other thing I wanted to point out. Notice this SUV back here in the background. Right? That SUV right there has got racks on the top. There's no presidential seal on the side, but notice it looks like a dated SUV. Now, I want to show you something. This is the Biden, so this is the SUV that we're talking about. It's got luggage racks on the top, okay? Notice the luggage racks. So if we go back to that video, you're going to see the luggage racks on the top. Now, in November 2020, they came out with new SUVs, and they don't have that luggage rack. They've got this increased dome on the top of it that's like another layer of security. It's a completely different model, okay? Now you go back to his video and you look at that SUV back there, you can see on the very top the luggage racks. That is the old model pre-November 2020, okay? And so just something is not right. So I'll go through it and I'm going to not talk. But watch your hands on the mic and then notice security detail and notice there is no guard or Marine standing at the door. Okay? Those hands went right through the microphones. Okay? This is all CGI. These guys are... Now, I'm not saying by any means he's not the President of the United States. What I'm saying is they are using CGI and other things to try to appear. I think they don't have any confidence in him being around around the media. And so they're having to do these things because he is not, I don't think he has the cognizance to do long-term stuff. He can't take fielded questions because he's just bubbling. I seriously, it's just, something is definitely up. But, and the other piece too, hang on, I want to back this up 1 second before we go to this. Check out the car in the background. See the green fence, that tennis fence netting that's over here on the background on the horizon behind him? Note that car back there. I don't know what year that car is, but that looks like, it's like an old, like, I can't tell, Mazda M3 or something. But what is that doing back here in the back shot? Just seems very, very strange, okay? All right, so that was one of the things I wanted to point out. I was trying to post it last night from my mobile phone, and Patreon just wouldn't jive with the software because I think the size of the file I was trying to post and the fact that it was a video, and you're kind of limited when it comes to putting that kind of, like, from your phone. The app doesn't work well with that. It's really PC based is a lot better. So,
well, good morning, YouTube. JT Serenity Farms prepping here, and welcome to the show. Okay, what you just saw was pedojoe walking. I use that term loosely. Did he look like one? Remember the Weeble Wobbles? How fragile, frail shot is this scumbag? He can barely even walk. It was like baby steps. I just kept waiting for him to fall over. But the real part of that movie was, did you notice when he's speaking with his hands, like I do, for effect, his hands passed over the microphones, through them. They were fuzzy. It was CG. Either he was, the whole background was, and the reporters were actually real, which provided the fuzz around the microphones, or they were fake and superimposed onto him walking up. Folks, if anyone thinks that this is a real presidency, come on. Now I want to show you another little clip from Newsmax and Greg Kelly, one of my heroes, about Good Morning America, another leftist liberal channel, and George Stephanopoulos, who should be in prison himself, doing a softball lob interview with one pedojoe himself.
Domestic Democrat issues came up about, they asked him about Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. What should he do next?
So let me ask you about Governor Cuomo of New York. I know you said you want the investigation to continue. If the investigation confirms the claims of the women, should he resign?
Yes, I think he probably end up being prosecuted too.
Wow. Now, they had to have about 16, at least, different meetings about what Joe Biden was going to say to that question, because he never went that far before. He's got his own issues on that matter. And after he talked about it, I have the sense that the Joe Biden press people got on the phone with GMA and they made a little accommodation. They talked about the Cuomo situation for a while. Listen carefully to this portion.
I start with the presumption. It takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward. Some are not. Anyway, it takes a lot of courage to come forward. So the presumption is it should be taken seriously.
Some are not. Anyway, they have to be taken seriously. Did you catch that? He caught himself. He stopped. Joe has been accused. He stopped. He stopped himself. All right? Now, that's one version you can find of this interview on the website. What actually aired on television when millions were watching, a little bit different.
I start with the presumption. It takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward. So the presumption is it should be taken seriously. And it should be investigated. And that's what's underway now.
You see what happened? They took out that part. Some of these women, where he caught himself, that's gone. That was an edit. That was an edit designed to help Joe Biden. And it kind of makes sense because, well, Joe Biden is being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos, press secretary to Bill Clinton.
So, you saw the edit. This is what we get every day from Circleback, Psaki, every single scumbag Democrat who steps in front of a microphone spins everything. They have no answers for anything except blame Trump and we're all racist. Whew, you watched my video yesterday. We've got until the end of April. That's all I'm giving it. And then it's time to spearhead an effort to take the country back our way. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell. But for now, JT, signing off.